Welcome to your very first Puncty Bite of this fall semester of 2011. I am so stoked to be working with all of you and that everything went so well on our first day of lab. I felt that we were able to inform the students about all of the lab etiquette and procedures while at the same time really getting to know them and starting to set the tone for the environment that we want to have in lab. So thank you very, very much for that. I want to go ahead and begin this Puncty Bite with just a sort of fun article. This is actually an article that John found just the other day, and he sent it via email to share with me, but it fits very nicely with sort of the first bit of coverage that we have had in lecture about some of the history of microbiology and microorganisms. And we talk a bit about how around 3.4 or 3.5 billion years ago there was fossil record of the first microbial life. And this particular article now is showing that perhaps that first microbial life was sulfur-based life. And the evidence that they're showing here is for sulfur reduction by some of these early microbes in the Archean rocks. So if you have a chance to check out Naturegeoscience, this is a fantastic addition to, I guess, your sexy mind knowledge that you can share with your students. That being said, I just want to make a quick note of our upcoming schedule for the week. This week we're going to be performing labs 1 and 2. So lab 1 will be on Tuesday and lab 2 will be on Thursday. And I want to note as well that this Friday, Leslie and Chelsea are responsible for Open Lab, and that's, of course, Leslie Grawl rather than Leslie Lur. And so if you guys could make sure that someone will be there to cover that lab, this could potentially be a week, particularly following Lab 2, where we do have quite a number of students that want to come into the lab. One other note is that if you haven't already done your safety training, or if you managed to only get partial safety training, there will be more of those sessions held for your taking on the afternoon of Thursday, on the day that we perform labs. So that's the 1st of September. Now, do remember that apparently you have to sign up for those separately, and that there are 3 different ones. So one of them starts at 3:10, but one of them I believe starts at 1:10 and 2:10 and 3:10. So it does go throughout the afternoon. I'm sorry for the confusion. I have to admit, it confused me probably more than it confused all of you. So I'm also going to be attending that lab and that safety training. And during that time, so for those of you in the afternoon lab sections, John Wolford is going to be taking over for me so that I can attend the safety training again for the umpteenth time. Okay, that being said, let's turn our attention to the labs that we're going to be performing this week. Of course, Lab 1 TA guidelines will help get you up to speed as to some of the things that will be going on during Lab 1. I also, highly suggest using the virtual edge for your own use as well as for your students' use. It can help you get back up to speed as to how some of the procedures will take place. On your TA guidelines, notice that at the top of nearly every guideline, you will see a star with some things that you want to make sure you do before the lab starts. So making sure that the microscope cabinets are unlocked, particularly for Kelsey and Leslie in the morning at 8 a.m., we need to do that. Also double check the amounts of media. Make sure there's enough media for all of your students. Be sure that the pond water that we're going to be using this time is out. We did order that this time from a supplier, so we should have lots of live organisms in our pond water. So that'll be really super fun. I'm stoked for that. Okay, great. And then other things, I guess, to look towards as far as Lab 1 goes, we will have the ubiquity of microorganisms procedure. We're also going to be doing the microscopy, and I will do all of the lectures, so I'm going to be all ready to go and stoked to do that. But if you would all please go ahead and study up so that you are ready to help students with their microscopes. So while I'm going through the microscopy section, I'm actually going to ask you to go around and individually help students as they're learning how to use their microscopes. Also, if you scan down through the TA guidelines for the first lecture, you'll notice that I did not only put a lot of notes about teaching students microscopes, but I also put some notes about some of the things that they may see on their microscope. So it's nice if you can have an idea for what those look like. And we did order some Spirogyra as well as some Volvox, so you will be able to see in many cases you will see those on the microscopes, and hopefully can help the students with that. I think we also do have some amoeba, we have some paramecium, so we do have quite a number of ciliophora that you might see in there. So breezing up on some of the protists that you might see in the water samples might be helpful for just telling your students what it is that you think they have. Obviously, I don't expect for you to be a protist expert, but if you can give them just a rough idea, it usually helps the students feel stoked about the lab. So that's on Tuesday, Lab 1. I will largely hold things together there. Kelsey and Leslie Lure, we forgot to have your students get their slides. We got the slide box and we labeled it, but we forgot to get the slides, so we'll want to make sure we do that on Tuesday morning. Okay, so looking at lab number 2 then, let me pull that up. There are a few other things that we have to make sure of on Lab 2. First off, your students will be getting their unknowns, so make sure that you do have unknowns out and ready for them at the beginning of the hour, and that all is well with the number of students you have versus the number of unknowns that we have. I will draw the direct and negative stains on the board, so you don't need to worry about making that drawing. However, it is very, very helpful to me if all of you can be prepared to do the smear preparation demo. And by that, I definitely don't mean just say, oh yeah, I rock smear preparations. I'm not even going to review that because I'm way good at them. Remember that knowing how to do something and teaching something are two very different things. So you want to be able to teach them how to make a smear. So I suggest two things. Either go through the virtual edge and watch that, think about how you're going to give your demo, what you're going to say, or read through the lab smear preparation in the TA guidelines. And this is a really good thing to read through before trying to give that demo, because it's very important to say a lot of the things that you're doing so that it's clear why you're doing it, not just showing them that you're doing it. You actually remind them the reasons behind it. So please do be ready to do that smear preparation. Now, I'm more than glad to do all the lectures during Lab 2. If anybody does want to give that lecture, though it's not a hard lecture, feel free to put your name up and sign up for it in lab. And a quick reminder of that, Kelsey and Leslie took time to do that on Friday during their open lab to sign up for all the lectures that they wanted to do. Please remember to take time for that, because if your name's not signed up for a lecture, I will automatically assume that I'm the one that will be giving that lecture. So please do take time to look through that and get signed up for everything. So I believe that that is the sad end, I guess, of our Puncti Bite this week. We will be back next week, and I look forward to this week of August 29th through September 2nd for Labs 1 and 2.